Yeah. Hey. Hey. Yeah.
Oh, what it is, yeah, it's been a minute. What it is, good people. Welcome back to a new episode of InMusic. I am your host, Rapson the Guru Tembe. R-A-P-S-A. Rapson. Don't forget it. I'm actually still very hyped off the fact that we've made it past 1,000 views with just the first 10 episodes. So thank you very much to everyone that watched. Thank you. I can't express how grateful I am right now. I really cannot, because I'm really grateful. I'm out of my mind right now. It's amazing. I need to just try contain this. This is not about the fact that I have made it past 1,000 views. It is about the fact that it is about music rights. This is the last part of the 3-part episode of music rights. Now, today's episode of music rights looks at the final stage of everything. You know, the part that is one of the most tedious and annoying parts, and is also one of the most important parts in music, and that it has to do with royalties and how people get their shmoney at the end of the day. See, I'm trying my best to contain myself. I just want to ramble and run through it, but I'm gonna try to keep calm because I'm still very excited. This is also a very exciting part of the music, right? So I'm gonna keep calm and try my best to make it as simple and clear as possible. So when it comes to royalties and this part of the money-making place, one thing is the most important thing of it all: a contract. Contracts. I know you hear this a lot when they say, please read through your contracts, and if you don't understand it, give it to someone who does. Give it to a lawyer, get help, get legal help. This is important because this will be the defining fact as to how things go on moving forward. This will define how you get money, when you get money, and why you get that certain amount of money. This is really important for artists, composers, lyricists, writers, everyone. This is very important. Now, for now, we're only gonna focus on the composers, because when it comes to artists, there's a whole list of his rights, but also a whole list of contracts that exist as to how an artist gets their money. So I'm gonna focus on composers just for now. So a contract between a composer and a publisher will exist, and when they go into it, it will outline the services that a publisher will do then for the composer. So when they go into a contract, it will say that the publisher will do the composer's admin, the composer's marketing, and liaise on behalf of the composer. Now, when they go into this contract and all these things are agreed upon, they will then also agree upon a payment method for the publisher. The composer will either give up a certain percentage of their composition rights, or will pay an admin fee to the publisher. Now, this admin fee will be for everything that the composer has done for will be for everything the publisher has done for the composer, rather than what I said before. So when they do this, it's very simple. You know, I do something for you, you give me something in return. But this will be outlined obviously in the contract. But you know, the tricky thing about this whole thing is people don't read contracts and give up all or almost everything to the publisher, and then they cry wolf at the end of the day. The publisher wasn't the bad person, he just didn't read the contract. This also happens even when you're an independent artist. This is why I had previously said, start record labels, sign yourselves, and because record labels are the ones that are expected to be doing all these things. Also, people do need publishers even when they're independent. They still sign contracts with publishers for publishers to release their work. So just read into this, look into it, and make sure you understand everything that is inside your contract. And the contract doesn't only exist between a composer and a publisher, it will also exist between composers themselves. Now, when we're collaborating as people, it's very fun. We're just enjoying the work, we're going on and on and on, and just working, and it's fun, and we put everything out. This may create a problem later on, because when the song starts making, people will start complaining about which percentage they own, who owns the song, asaz, manje, back and forth. Like for example, Sidlukotin was produced by Tweezy and Gemini Major. Now, if there was not a certain document that I'm going to mention, they would fight as to who owns the song. Now, there's a certain document that is put in place to avoid this, and this document is called split sheet. Now, a split sheet is put in place to make sure that everyone knows how much or how many percent is owed to them, or how many percent they own of the song. So it makes everything smooth sailing. So please, even if you're working with a producer friend, make sure that there's a split sheet, because one day your music will make money, and when it starts making money, you don't want to be fighting with someone as to who owns the composition of that song. Now, administrators or publishers will be will be here to make sure that this happens if you have hired them as the person who will liaise for you. But if you're doing it on your own, make sure it is clear who owns what and why. That's simple, right? It is very simple. Read contracts, guys, understand contracts, and always make sure that you get what is owed to you. See, contracts are very much important. Now that I've touched on and explained how the composer's contract works, I'll touch on one contract that works for artists that is fast growing and has become one of the most important forms of contracts to this day. It's called a 360 deal. Now, in a 360 deal, an artist goes into a contract with a record label, and the record label owns a percentage of every form of deal that they make, whether it's outside of the record label or whether the record label brought you the deal. Now, they have a percentage in everything you make. If they signed you for 10 years and you get an endorsement deal with Nike and you worked on yourself in the 9th year, they get a percentage of that as well. Now, of course, this has its own pros and cons. I may be painting it with the bad brush, but it has its pros and cons. The pros are the record label works tirelessly for you. They go out there sourcing and looking for things for you and try and make sure that they get as many deals for you as possible, because that in turn gives them money. Now, the downside, or one of the downsides of this, is the fact that you could have a team already of people that has already been building relationships and that has already been trying to get a certain specific deal or ambassadorship, and when you get it, the label still gets a percentage and you did all that work. Look, there are many types of contracts for artists. I was only highlighting this one because it is the biggest one right now, and it only came about because music is not making as much money as it used to back in the day. On a global scale, music in 1999 made over 15.7 billion rand that year, but in 2012 it only made a mere 7 billion. This is not because people are no longer consuming or buying music. It's because music has moved from its conventional CD sales, DVD sales, to streaming platforms, which means less money being made by the record label at large. So they had to move towards a 360 deal. So it's just a business transaction. Choose the best business transaction there is out there for you and make sure you get the most out of it. So contracts determine who gets paid what, who gets paid when, and why they get paid. Everything that they're going to be getting paid. Make sure you read your contract. Make sure you understand your contract. And from personal experience, I can tell you, Uguti, please, the day the contract is being signed, make sure you're both in the room and you both agree on whatever is about to be signed. I know this firsthand, and I'm not even in music, in the music business right now. Amen. It's been a lot. It's been 3 parts. I'd just like to say thank you very much to everyone that got us to over 1,000 views. It's been an amazing journey. We're gonna keep going. We're gonna keep it moving. This is still in music. I am your host, Rapson the Guru Dembe. RAPSON. Thank you very much. And I'm out. With love.